So Juicy, was that just a one-off thing that you did did you tour that, or was that just literally for the...
I didn't really tour it, but what I did was I did work in progress shows in several towns. Right. And I know that sounds like a tour, but I didn't bill it as that. I was just like, where can I do this as many times as possible before I film it? But it was always listed as work in progress. The tickets were always cheap, and so I did it I did it like 12 times in Liverpool. Right. I came to London to do it 3. I did it at the Frog and Bucket in Manchester. I did it in Alexander's in Chester a few times, the Wardrobe in Leeds. And then we filmed it in Glasgow. So we did 4 shows in Glasgow and just picked the best one, which was the 4th one.
So you say in the beginning that it's made up, but that's just to cover yourself, right, from the fact that it isn't made up.
Well, okay. How can I say this without causing the problem I had before? So Juicy is the story of a breakup. And at the start of Juicy, what I say is this is a work of fiction. And the reason for that, and I think I can say it this way.
Okay.
So Juicy is a work of fiction about a breakup. And how can I say this? There is someone, and I can't tell you their name or their relation to me, but due to certain material I've done in the past, I got sent letters from lawyers.
Okay.
Like, basically, don't be doing this.
Yeah.
You've got to stop this immediately. With a list of demands, they wanted money and stuff. And I did everything I could to tell them to go and fuck themselves. And in the end, it was just...
So then you made up this other completely
bogus
story
about something else, yeah.
About a very
I don't know what I'm allowed to say. I've signed a thing to say that I won't name someone in my stand-up and that I won't do certain things. But as long as I don't name them and I don't say it's about a certain person...
Is it Philip Schofield?
It's Philip Schofield, yeah. Yeah. This episode's not going out till August.
I know, it's going to be...
by then.
He'll be dead by then and it'll seem very sick. Especially with that bit, hey? Especially... I can see the future.
But yeah, Juicy is technically a work of fiction because not every detail in it is accurate, so therefore it's fiction.
But I love it, because we've I think we've all... It's a really good show. It's very well... They're all worth your time, and they're all worth the free entrance fee.
Yes.
Of YouTube.
Such a compliment, that, isn't it? You're so worth nothing.
But, most of us have been through that where, I had a relationship that I've written a little bit about where... the person turned out not to be everything you expected, or turned out to be a bit crazy than you expected. And in my case, we went away on holiday, and the day before we went, she'd been proposed to by her ex-boyfriend and was contemplating whether to get married during the holiday.
That's quite difficult, isn't it?
Which I didn't find out till afterwards, but she was ringing him from the... We were in Barbados. She was ringing him from the hotel phone all the way through. And that's how I found out for sure, but also I had to pay for the... there's lots of bits where you're talking about having to pay for things during the holiday. So it was very... I liked it because it was very, very reminiscent of a similar crazy relationship. But, in a way, that we still occasionally communicate, me and that girl, and we're still friends through it all, because we were both crazy, I think.
Yeah.
But it was also like a really important relationship in terms of me realising, this is what you shouldn't be doing. This is the kind of person you should be avoiding and but at least not being in a relationship with.
And when I look back on the relationship I was in, there was a lot of red flags that I completely ignored just because I was punching above my weight. So, and I wanted to continue to do so.
Yeah.
So what I found out was when I was in New York in January of 2021, I found on the first night of an 8-night trip to New York, I found out that the girl I was with in New York had been stealing from me. She'd been using my bank card behind my back, and not to buy things that were important. She wasn't paying bills and then going, I need it to pay my bills. The things she bought were hilarious, but also awful, and it was just such a weird and difficult time. And Juicy is the entire story of it. Initially, my plan with that was I was going to tell the story on stage, see how long it took, and then get it down to 20 minutes. Because we did our podcast show at the Arena in Liverpool in December. And my plan was to do it at the Arena and film it there and release it from that. Because we were filming that anyway. And I was like, get it down to 20, mini little special. And then I did a work in progress of it in London. and I did Adam Rowe and Friends, and Alfie Brown and Vittorio Angeloni were my two friends. And Vittorio and Alfie both had two different bits of advice, but were both very useful. So Vittorio was like, first of all, that'll work at the arena if you boil it down to 20 minutes. It'll get laughs, it'll work, everyone will like it. But you can't film it there, because that show requires a bit of sympathy to you, and it's going to be quite hard to garner that on screen in front of 10,000 people.
Yeah.
So you can't release it from there. And what Alfie said was that story is currently 38 minutes, and it needs to get longer, not shorter, because it's too interesting. There's too many ways you can take it. And I agreed with both of them, so I changed my tactic and decided I was going to try and make it an hour, and we did. And Alfie directed it, and it was, I'm very glad, because the feedback from Juicy was so... I've always just been like a club comic, and when I go on tour, it's like, there'll be a loose theme, and I'll try and put callbacks towards the end and stuff to tie things together, but Juicy's a show, and that's why I got Alfie on board, because he's very, very good at that sort of stuff. And he definitely sort of was the strength to where my weaknesses normally would be. But the feedback to it from my people who followed me for years is like, fucking hell, this is the best thing you've ever done.
Yeah.
Like, and do more of it. And because my initial plan was I'm never going to do anything like that again.
Yeah.
And it made me rethink it.
Yeah, but that's true. I think you definitely should. You're a very good storyteller. I also just like the fact that it's not, it's not a show that you've toured and run into the ground. And that feels like a fresh new thing to do, to get a newish idea and get it while it's fresh, and then it's done, and you've put it up online, and it's not something you're going to take out for
I didn't want to tell it for much longer.
No.
Like, a couple of people were like, when they seen it, were like, take that to Edinburgh, like, you'll be in with a shout. And I was like, well, first of all, I don't care that much about that. And second of all, I don't want to be telling this in August. I don't want to be, like, dragging it out till then. So I did that show maybe 20 times, like, maximum 22.
Yeah.
Like, that was it. And I would never normally film something. A joke isn't normally finished until I've done it 50, 60 times.
Yeah.
So, because it was a story, there's only so much you can do with it.
Yeah.
Because it's a story. There's not loads of tangents. There's a few. But there's not loads of bits where I go off on one and, like, do something else. It all comes back to that. And I found it quite sort of easy to put it together. Like, some comics were like, how have you put that together in 3 or 4 months? I was like, because what else am I going to do with it? Like, keep moving it around and changing it and second-guessing every bit of it. And it was quite interesting, because when we filmed it in Glasgow, Alfie was there, but his plan was he was going to watch me go on at the 4th show and then leave to get the sleeper train back to London. Because he was like, I can't direct you after the last show, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And he watched the first show on the Saturday, and that was good. And he was like, right, you've got one now, so don't worry about it. But here's the 37 things you did wrong. He's like, don't worry about them, because even without them, the show works. But you did miss these things.
Yeah.
Saturday late show, people got kicked out. It was chaos. It's Saturday in Glasgow. Yeah. In January. Like, first drink since New Year for a lot of these people. Chaos. Sunday early show was good and better than Saturday early show. So he was like, right, you've got 2. I'm getting on the train. I'll see you get on. And 5 minutes in to the 4th one, I was like, oh, it's this one. And I just knew. And before the 4th one, he'd give me like 40 notes again. Like, do all this. And towards the end of the set, I look at the back of the room, and I don't know whether people know Alfie, but Alfie's got a very distinctive silhouette, because he's got like a very bushy set of hair. And I was like, is he still... That can't be him. It must be like one of the barmaids or something. Like with And I come off stage, and as I go upstairs to the little dressing room bit, he just comes up, and I went, what the fuck are you still doing here? And he went, I wasn't missing that. He went, I knew 4 minutes in that was going to be the one. He said, and I can't believe... He went, you hit everything I told you to do as well. It just... Once the pressure was off and I had them in, it just gave me the freedom to do everything right.
Yeah.
And that's the one we ended up using.